on the modern play areas created courtesy of Johan Blake's charity, They Gather. Red, yellow, blue and greenhouse all revved up for some friendly competition.
Keep watching to find out how that friendly competition played out. It's Monday, I'm Carrie Ann Smith, and this of course is Jamaica Magazine. Our focus on Child Month continues today. Also, government's integrated vector control program. And what exactly is the 1.5 plan? It's a jam-packed half hour and you don't want to miss any of it, so please stick around.
The government's tax relief will benefit more than 250,000 people who pay income tax. The tax threshold will be moved from $592,800 to $1 million on July 1, 2016, and to $1.5 million on April 1, 2017. The government of Jamaica building a partnership for economic growth and prosperity.
Good day, I'm Tamar McHale and this is your GIS News for Monday, May 16. The committee established to investigate last week's collapse at the Blue Diamond Royalton Negril should be presenting its report to the local government minister later this week. The committee members, along with Minister Desmond Mackenzie and members of the Hanover Parish Council, toured the construction site and held a technical meeting on the weekend as part of their investigation.
We are using technology to assist in assessing what has taken place.
One of the tests sought to assess whether the columns at the site of the accident met the basic standard for strength.
We have used the Smith hammer to carry out the compressive test of the column to see that the strength is adequate for the design of the column. And this minimum strength must be 3,000 psi, that is pounds per square inch. And what I have received here is 3,402 psi. Which is above the 3,000 required.
Minister Mackenzie says the results of the technical tests, a report from the hotel developers and comprehensive report from the Hanover Parish Council have been handed over to the committee to inform its work. Following this investigation, the committee's next task is Royalton's Trelawney location. The hotel's Deputy Managing Director Daniel Diaz, meanwhile, expressed optimism that the original construction deadline of December 2016 would still be met.
It really depends on which the outcome is, but we're confident that with the effort and commitment of everyone, we will be able to meet the deadlines that we have for our guests and for this wonderful new product for Jamaica.
In the meantime, local government Minister Desmond Mackenzie says he will be meeting with the Hanover Parish Council and the Negril Green Island Planning Authority this week to address challenges they're experiencing.
I know that there's an area of grievances that exist there, and I'll be meeting with them to discuss the concerns and to see how best we can work it out, because both organizations are crucial to the development of the parish.
Minister Mackenzie revealed that the committee set up to investigate the Royalton collapse would also be looking at the weaknesses that exist in the parish council.
And the committee was tasked with the responsibility of not just finding out what went wrong, but also to make recommendations, not just to prevent what took place, but recommendations on how to improve the quality of the service delivery of the Hanover Parish Council.
Education Minister Senator Ruel Reid has asserted that government will not defund high schools. He was responding to concerns raised on Saturday by the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools about the new tuition-free policy.
The ministry will not defund high schools. We will ensure instead that all schools are adequately funded in order to carry out their functions to educate the nation's children. This is why we've asked each school to provide us with its individual budget in order to accurately determine the level of funding required.
Meanwhile, the minister reiterated that parents could continue to make their contributions to schools as determined by the school boards and parent-teachers associations. Starting today, a team from the ministry in partnership with the National Parents Teachers Association of Jamaica has begun dialogue with parents about their role under the new tuition-free policy. State Minister in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Floyd Green, has begun a series of fact-finding visits of residential childcare facilities as part of the proposed strategic review of these homes, which will be undertaken. The minister on Wednesday met with wards and staff of the St. John Bosco Home for Boys in Hatfield, Manchester.
I plan to have a substantial meeting with all the operators, right? But I have started the process to see how much homes I can visit, because each of them have their own special needs and their special desire. As a ministry, we'll have to try and treat with.
During his visit, the minister also gave handwritten letters of encouragement to the boys. And finally, plans are in place to further expand National Children's Day celebrations. This year's celebration was the biggest in 4 years, with volunteers and members of the National Child Month Committee greeting students and donating tokens of appreciation in 6 locations island-wide. The committee says it hopes to expand its reach going forward.
Next year, we are looking for more sponsorship because it has to be in all 14 parishes. That is our plan. I'm really appealing to other persons outside to really see this as a very important event of the National Child Month Committee, as all the other activities are. But if they could just come on board and really help us on this special day to make the children feel loved.
And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Tamara McHale. Thanks for watching.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Protect yourself from the bite of this mosquito. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Prime Minister orders review of all major hotel constructions on the North Coast and expands technical team to investigate Royalton collapse. I'm Lorraine Mendez with Jamaica House Weekly. Prime Minister Holness has ordered an investigation into all major construction projects on the North Coast to determine whether they are in keeping with the approved regulatory standards. The decision came last week following the collapse of a section of the Blue Diamond Royalton Negril, which was under construction. A number of workers were injured in the accident and have since received treatment. In response, the Prime Minister said government would examine its internal capabilities to ensure it's properly equipped to supervise large construction projects. Mr. Holness pointed out that as part of its growth strategy, the administration was preparing for increased construction in the hotel and other sectors. But he insisted that a balance must be struck between expeditious project completion and adherence to all approved standards, including the safety of workers, the public, and eventual hotel users. That announcement came at the same time that the Prime Minister indicated he was expanding a 3-member committee established earlier in the week to review the Royalton collapse. The committee has been expanded to include representatives from the Office of the Prime Minister, Ministries of Local Government and Labour and Social Security, the National Works Agency, and the National Environment and Planning Agency. They are charged with both investigating the Royalton incident as well as all other major construction projects on the North Coast. A report is expected later this week. Prime Minister Andrew Holness led the nation's observance of Children's Day on Friday, encouraging persons to provide love, care and attention to the country's youngest. He emphasized that as future leaders who will play a pivotal role in national development, Jamaica's children needed to be educated, protected and nurtured to achieve their greatest potential. In keeping with his own urgings, the Prime Minister made a special donation last week. Amadi Williams of Browns Hall Primary School in St. Catherine was invited to Jamaica House after he wrote a letter to the Prime Minister with his suggestions for preventing underage drinking. Amadi was accompanied by his mother, grandmother and little brother. Mr. Holness was impressed by the young man's confidence and determination and presented him and his brother with a computer tablet to help with their studies.
Every child should have one of these. Not to play games. You play games on them, yes. But they help you do your schoolwork, right?
Yes, sir.
Prime Minister Holness encouraged Amadi, who wants to be a pilot, to work hard and follow his dream.
Personally, I am going to help him to make sure that he's able to go to school.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness also made time last week for the 2015 and 2016 winners of the Rita Marley Public Speaking Foundation, offering them words of encouragement and advice. 2015 winner Zandre Mohansing of Glenmere High School is an aspiring medical doctor, while 2016 winner Bobby Francis of York Castle High wants to be a constitutional lawyer or politician. The Prime Minister congratulated them and said he was very pleased to see boys excelling in this field that was dominated by girls. The Prime Minister welcomed other visitors to Jamaica House last week. On Tuesday, he met with President of the Caribbean Court of Justice, the Right Honourable Sir Charles M. Dennis Byron. Then on Friday, he met with Premier of the Turks and Caicos Islands, Dr. Rufus Ewing. That discussion looked at ways to improve cooperation and trade relations between the Turks and Caicos Islands and the rest of the Northern Caribbean to advance mutual economic growth agendas. Also on Friday, the Prime Minister met with CEO of the Jamaica Environment Trust, Diana Macaulay, and board members of Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Join us next time for the latest news coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Operation Mosquito Search and Destroy. That's the name of our next feature, but just one part of government's multifaceted program to keep Jamaicans safe from mosquito-borne viruses. Take a look. Jamaica has increased its drive to reduce the Aedes aegypti population that causes chikungunya, Zika, and dengue. Several activities are being undertaken as part of the Integrated Vector Control Program.
The country has been on high alert as it relates to mosquito-borne challenges.
We recognize that we couldn't stay in our offices and get the work done. So we have embarked on this effort, Operation Mosquito Search and Destroy.
We protect ourselves against the mosquito, right? What we're trying to do here is to prevent infection. And that is a function of public education, but also keeping our environment clean. Over the last year, we have the team at the Ministry of Health and the health workers out in the field, public health officers, with their respective teams, have visited somewhere in the region of about 300,000 homes.
We wanted to find a way that we could mobilize and motivate the community to get involved in having a part in the whole prevention. So we came up with this idea of stop and wrap. What it involves, we go into the community, stop and talk to people, talk to them about how they can control mosquito breeding on their premises.
Today I'm very elated seeing the part that the ministry has taken to trying to educate we as citizens of this community.
And so we increased our fogging in these areas especially, in addition to the routine fogging being done in all areas within the country.
Zika virus.
It's all about community participation and people taking action.
In the Caribbean territory, but we now want that virus take set pan.
Protect yourself from the bite of this mosquito.
Zippy is on a roll. Let's work together to keep it in control. Aedes aegypti, Falabakami, Zippy and me, can't agree.
Hide and find every place where you could hide. We're going to eradicate. We're going to eliminate. We're going to punch the tire them, clean out the drain, bore up the tin them, clean out the drain, cover the drum them, clean out the drain.
75% of mosquito breeding sites are found in and around our homes. Individual action is key. Let's fight Zigbee.
So make sure send no stagnant water inside and mash up all mosquito breeding site. More hole in the tin them where you dash way. And special shout out to pregnant ladies. Protect yourselves and protect your babies. Draw for your zapper and your mosquito spray. If you do all that we can to keep them away. For we know wars in vain.
For health's sake, keep it clean. For health's sake, clean up every gully, every school, every house, every lane.
Labor Day 2016. For health's sake, keep it clean. Join the cleanup efforts in your community on Labor Day and help to keep the mosquitoes away. Over 1 million people die each year from mosquito-borne diseases worldwide. So destroy all mosquitoes in the gullies, drains, and around your homes. Let's clean up our public spaces and beautify our environment. Register your projects now. Call 978-7654 or email laborday@mcges.gov.jm.
Keep it clean.
The big, much-anticipated announcement was made last Thursday. Government is definitely keeping its promise to provide workers with an income tax relief. Andrea Chisholm explains just how it works.
Finance Minister Audley Shaw announced on Thursday that government would be increasing the income tax threshold. That is, the portion of one's salary to which income tax is not applied. So who will benefit from this plan?
This is for people who are on the PAYE system. You're working, they take out your salary deduction per fortnight, per week, whatever, and by the way, you get your pay slip and it marked PAYE. So if you're not paying PAYE, you're not in this plan.
As it stands now, $592,800 is the income tax-free portion of one's annual salary. But with the new policy, that will change for the better.
We are raising the personal income tax threshold to $1.5 million across the board for everyone.
But this will not happen all at once, especially because the country is in a tight fiscal space.
We look at what IMF said. We took a look at what all the unions said and what the PSOJ said. Then say if you can't afford it one time, phase it in. Phase it in. Phase it in. And Mr. Speaker, that is what we're going to do. We're going to phase it in. We will do this in 2 phases.
So as of July 1 this year, $1,272 of one's annual salary would be income tax free. That means persons will be taking home more money in their pockets. And if you earn that amount or less, you will not pay any income tax. This benefit will increase next year. As of April 1, 2017, persons will take home even more money, as $1.5 million of their annual salary would not be subject to income tax.
We have a subculture that supports those who do not inform, an anti-informer culture that pervades our entire society that we must break down.
As we said at the top of the program, the focus on Child Month continues, and today we're examining the educational needs of young people with hearing challenges. As you'll see next, the mantra of every child must learn is limited to none.
So much has been done by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information to advance learning of deaf students. And with me to talk about these achievements is Education Officer within the Ministry, Christina Addington. Welcome, Mrs. Addington.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a bit about the different stages of hearing loss and how it affects the ability to learn in the traditional school system.
Okay, well, Andrew, hearing loss occurs on a continuum based going from hard of hearing to deafness. And on this continuum, there are different levels. So we start off with a mild hearing loss, then you can have a moderate loss, a severe loss, or a profound loss. It's important to note that it is the level of loss being experienced by the child that really impacts on if the child is able to be educated in the traditional system or if the child has to be educated in a segregated system. For children who experience mild hearing losses, for the most part, they're able to cope and experience success in the regular school system. But for this to happen, there have to be a couple factors that have to be in place. Firstly, the student has to be amplified, fitted with hearing aids. The child has to be in a small school setting, most importantly, in a small class size, so that there's not a lot of background information to distort information being shared between teacher and the students in the classroom environment. Another thing is the teacher working with a child has to ensure that she or he utilizes specific strategies that will help the child maximize whatever residual hearing that the child has. So things like placing the child at the front of the class. The teacher has to also remember he or she cannot turn their backs to the class while teaching. They have to ensure that they always have the child's attention, let the child know when they're speaking to them. And the greatest thing I think also is that the parents have to be very, very involved, because once there's great parent involvement in the educational life of the child with a mild loss, then this will better ensure success.
So Mrs. Addington, how many specialized schools are there for these students?
Well, to date we have 7 special education schools for the deaf across the island in Jamaica. We have 3 public schools which are operated in partnership between the Ministry of Education and the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. These are the Danny Williams School for the Deaf. They are in Kingston, in Pope Estate, Papine, and they have 2 satellites. One, a preschool center, which is attached to the school, and another unit class at the Excelsior Primary School. The St. Christopher School for the Deaf is also a primary school, and that school is in Brownstown, St. Anne, and it has a boarding facility. And Lister Mayor Gilby High School for the Deaf is the high school for the deaf. And that school has 2 satellites, so they have a satellite in Maypen and they have a satellite in Port Antonio. The other 4 schools are private schools. They are the Caribbean Christian Center for the Deaf. They operate 3 schools, one in St. James, one in Manchester, and one in Kingston. And the Jamaica Christian School for the Deaf, and they operate in Lethe, St. James.
So how has the ministry been advancing the learning of these students in these particular institutions?
Well, the ministry has been playing its part. For the most part, there is greater interaction and greater support to the public schools. One of the things that the ministry has done a couple of years ago, through discussions, the special education unit lobbied for posts of teachers' assistants to be established for the schools, special schools. And so the schools for the deaf, all the schools for the deaf, public schools, they got teachers' assistants. The ministry also has put in place quality education circles, and all the schools for the deaf are engaged in a quality education circle. So the principals meet with administrators from other schools, they share information, and so the principals are able to learn and get advice and share information. The high school for the deaf has benefited from being placed on the e-learning Jamaica project, and so all the teachers there have been trained and are better equipped to, infuse the technology into the teaching learning process.
So what are the advantages of learning in these specialized institutions?
Main advantage, I would say, is at the schools for the deaf, the pupil-teacher ratio is 8 to 1. So we talk about 8 students to 1 teacher. Now when you compare that with a regular school system where it's 1 to 35, but in most cases 1 to 40 or some more, we can say that the children are in a setting which makes concessions that they cannot hear, so they need more time to be spent interacting, engaging in learning. That the teachers, for the most part, in these institutions are special education trained.
We want to thank Mrs. Christina Addington from the Special Education Unit in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information for sharing with us today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, until next time, see you around.
From one vulnerable group of young people to another. Up next, we travel to the cool hills of Manchester to engage in a sporting intervention with a wonderful group of boys.
The heavens approved and the weather was good for a fun-filled day. Staff members of the JIS, family members and friends were making the usual visit to the Mount Olivet Home for Boys in Manchester for their annual sports day. Over the years, the team has been redirecting some of its energies towards the wholesome development of about 30 wards of the state through a number of interventions.
The Mount Olivet Boys Home here in Walderston, Manchester, is the JIS's corporate social responsibility project. It was selected by members of staff. We assessed the needs. We came together and we decided that we would adopt this home 6 or so years ago.
Along with helping out the home with food and clothing supplies and assisting with the general upkeep of the facility, since 2009, the JIS team has also been providing encouragement and mentorship for the boys.
It makes us feel good as members of staff, as a JIS family, to know that we're giving back, we're investing in a boy's life. And right here we have so many boys that are in need of comfort and encouragement and mentoring, and we just want to be able to give back and invest in their lives.
Every April, sport is drafted into the mix. Mount Olivet boys and JIS staff, past and present, all look forward to the activity-filled trip. On the modern play areas, created courtesy of Johan Blake's charity, they gather. Red, yellow, blue and greenhouse all revved up for some friendly competition in the contest of agility, dexterity, balance, coordination and strength, and other skills? At the end, Greenhouse came out victorious with the most points, followed by the competitive red, yellow and blue house teams. But everyone got the main prize.
From what we have seen, the boys have enjoyed the whole setting for today. This is something that they look forward to each year with the JIS.
The JIS Mount Olivet Sports Day was not complete without the cake and cheers for those who celebrated their birthdays since our last trip, specifically the January, February, March and April people. It was all only made possible due to the support of numerous sponsors and partners like Why Be Afraid and Wisinco, Maxfield Bakery, Coldfield Manufacturers, Tasty and JUTC. With their help, the JIS team visits the home multiple times per year to mark and celebrate milestones like the new school year, Easter and Christmas. And while Sports Day 2016 is now history, the year-round support still flows as preparations are in gear for an upcoming visit in August to continue supporting the growth and development of Mount Olivet's boys.
This is where we close the pages on today's magazine. Thank you for your company. We have another program lined up for you tomorrow, so be sure to return. In the meantime, watch this one again on our website or YouTube channel. If you have a comment, use our Twitter or email accounts. Until next time, I'm Carrie-Ann Smith. Take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.